Today on Explain What's on Mountain Biking, I'm going to be comparing the classic go-to IXF through Axel crankset with the new JG Bike crankset. Now, why not just go with the tried and true IXF? It's more expensive, and it doesn't come with a chainring. However, when I ordered the JG Bike one, the free random chainring they sent me was a 38-tooth oval, which I really have no use for. To go with my IXF, I have a JG Bike 32-tooth round chainring. Now, we're going to first start out by comparing these and how they came packaged. They both came packaged quite well. The JG Bike, however, came with a rubber end cap to protect the slines, which it also comes with a metal bolt that goes in here, versus the plastic one on the IXF crankset. So you could say, well, why not just go with the JG Bike one? It's cheaper, and it's obviously better because it comes packaged better. Well, we'll find out. I've heard some complaints about the JG Bike one, that it's not as well built. I have not seen the same complaints about the IXF. We'll be putting the IXF on my way over upgraded Schwinn Axum, and we're going to be throwing the JG Bike onto my new Schwinn non-DP Axum. We're going to go ahead and do a weigh-in on both these cranksets. Here's our weigh-in. We'll start with the IXF. The other thing about the IXF is it has an option to add a second chainring if you wanted to, which is something the JG Bike does not. We'll go ahead and ignore this bag here. So just the bottom bracket, all that stuff. And we have 764 grams on that. Now the original Schwinn crankset and bottom bracket weighs in at 1,000, so that's 300 grams of savings in rotational weight, which is a pretty big deal. Now we'll go ahead and weigh the JG Bike in. Anyway, so the JG Bike is about 100 grams heavier than the IXF, and it does not have the option to add a second inner chainring. So that's the comparison between the two. I'm now going to go ahead and start putting them on the bikes, and we'll see how they install. Okay, we're going to go start installing our IXF bottom bracket on the blue Schwinn Axum DP. So this is the right side, I guess labeled by the R. Whenever we're threading something in, we should always use grease. So let's get some grease, put it on the threads, and start threading it in. And we gotta make real careful we don't cross thread this, because they're pretty easy to cross thread. If we do, it'll mess up the threads in the bottom bracket. See, there we go, it's not cross threaded and it's going in nicely now. Make sure to tighten this by hand to start with. And we'll go ahead and tighten in the other side as well. Bit of grease on the threads. Make sure it's not cross-threaded. I'm going to use one of these oil filter rubber wrenches to tighten up my bottom bracket. That's loosened. You can use one of these oil filter wrenches, tighten it up. You can use like normal pliers, but it'll scratch it up. So if you want it to not be scratched up, and you also don't want to buy a specialty tool for something you're probably only going to ever loosen once, this is a great idea. Now we'll just go ahead and slide in that. Now on to the biggest complaint about the IXF crankset is the plastic bolt that it gives you to tighten it down, which is known to strip out. I'd suggest using the wrench they include though, because it's not a very big wrench, so you can't get it that tight. The thing is, plastic is super easy to cross thread. So there we go, finally got it threaded properly. And now we should be able to cinch that down. And then we'll need to tighten these bolts on the side of the crank arm to lock it down. So we'll just take our Allen wrench, and you probably want to torque these too, but for right now I'm just going to tighten them down with the Allen key. Get these pretty tight. That's what's locking on your crank, so I'll probably check them with the torque wrench later, but for right now I don't have a torque wrench, so I'm just going to cinch them down as tight as I can get them. Here's our JG Bike red 32-tooth chainring. I guess I ordered an oval chainring. I'm pretty sure I ordered a round one. But now when you put these on, there's a little notch. This goes next to the crank like that. Now, there's two places we could put it. On the back of the crank arm, like this, or on the front. Now, the back is getting us too close to the frame, so obviously, I guess we're stuck with the front. Just pop our bolts through. These bolts lock as you tighten them. Usually these bolts bite, but sometimes they don't, like this one doesn't want to. I'll try loosening it. Tightening it. There we go, we got it to bite now. Now let's just put on our chain. That's good for the Axum DP, and now we'll do the Axum. Now the other bike is a bit more complicated because of the stripped crank arm that we haven't taken off yet. This side isn't stripped, so we'll just go ahead and pull it off the normal way. First we'll need to remove this. Then we'll get our puller on, and crank arm comes off. And that's the normal way to pull off a crank arm. However, the other side is kind of stuck. So that's not going to work for it. Now, we'll go ahead and remove this side of the bottom bracket, because we can. Bottom bracket removal tool. Now, you might be asking, well, why are we even bothering to replace these bottom brackets? Well, they're not very sturdy, and they have a tendency to clunk around while you're riding. So if you're feeling a clunk when you're riding, it's probably this kind of square taper bearing bottom bracket that's causing the issue. Now for the stuck on side, we'll go ahead and remove as you can see, there's no crank arm here anymore. Now, I don't really want to talk about it, but I will for the sake of the video. I had to take a oscillating saw and cut that crank arm off to get it to this stage, because I could not get this thing to come loose. Since we've gotten to this stage, we can re-unscrew the other side of our bottom bracket and take that off with our wrench. Maybe part of the problem was we were screwing it backwards. It looks like this is reverse thread. Whatever direction takes out the other side, you need to reverse directions to get that side out. Now I have my new bottom bracket. This is the JG bike. Anyway, this is the JG bike and IXF Crankset battle. Now, it's time for some long-term testing to see how they actually hold up. You could definitely get plenty of mileage out of either of these cranksets, and they're both great options. The JG bike happens to be cheaper, and it comes with a free chainring, and if a 48-tooth oval is your kind of thing, then probably go with the JG bike. If you want the tried and true, go with the IXF.